A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down. Eternal life. That's what's promised to the elect. All right, all Israel. But it starts with the elect. And that's how the earth will be governed by immortals. Perfect angelic forces who are going to come down and rule on earth. Extraterrestrial bodies will be able to do things that humans do, but in heavenly bodies. Like eating, drinking. Did not Yahushua say he's going to drink wine with us in the kingdom? Well, how do you drink wine with a spiritual body? Well, we're going to have out of this world capabilities in those new bodies.
Look, when Babylon is destroyed on fire, it's going to shake up the whole world. We're going to be beamed up. The hopeful elect, if we're the elect, we're going to be beamed up. And we're going to see this destruction pursuant to Psalms 91 and other scriptures. And we're going to hover over Babylon, and we're going to see the destruction. We're going to get a ringside seat to the war of Armageddon. And then we're going to come back down. When we come back down to the earth, we taking everything over. The saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers, and peace and blessing and salutation to the whole elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh by Shema Shai. All right. And what I want to get into today, is dealing with, all right, the shutdown, is causing a ripple effect. Okay. And we know all right, and we know, that this devil, all right, has a lot of madness going on at the same time. All right. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of effects that's happening that's not being reported, because everyone is not, verbalizing, what's going on. All right. As Eve, Eve just at the forefront complaining and, embarrassing her goddamn self. All right. Looking like an ass all over social media, the national news. Okay. But there's other, all right, happenings, dealing with this shutdown. Okay. There's a lot of people, okay, that are being, devastated, whether it's, top, CEOs, owners of companies, all right, to their employers, to their employees. Okay. People are being devastated, man. All right. And this is the doing, okay, of an unwise king. Okay. Because Esau is everything that a ruler is not supposed to be at the end of the day. All right. And this captivity under Esau is teaching us exactly what not to do. As we learn, and we read the scriptures and learn, how we should be. okay, as rulers. Well, we're getting a live class on how not to be in real life, all right, from Esau. Okay, so this is the book of Ecclesiasticus 10:3, the book of Sirach. It says, an unwise king destroyed his people. Okay, and this is what's happening, man. This Esau Edom, he's an unwise king. He's an unwise ruler, man. This is the earth under his rulership. Okay, this is who he is. All right, begging this man for justice and equality and, do this right. And why is he doing this? This don't make sense. He's the wicked. Okay, it makes perfect sense. He is the wicked that the Bible speaks of, and he's doing everything that the wicked, all right, is written to do, to take peace from the earth, continue their war, all right, with deception, witchcraft. He doing everything that the wicked, okay, was written to do. Okay, and your people are disappointed because you expect something else from this man. Okay, it says, an unwise king destroyed his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, man. And the Lord is setting it up for the earth to appreciate a righteous rulership, man. The earth is going to appreciate the Israelite man, all right, being in charge of the earth, beginning with Yahushua. The earth is going to appreciate that. Okay, and Esau's rulership is setting it up. Okay, so let's go from there. All right, let's get another precept, and then I want to have a video I want to go into. All right, and then Jake, he's expounding on some things, concerning the ripple effects of the lockdown. It says of the government shutdown. It said Proverbs 28:15 in the NLT, a wicked ruler is as dangerous to the poor as a roaring lion or an attacking bear. So in this man's society, if you are poor, okay, this rulership is dangerous unto you, man. Okay, because this man's rulership is meant to just devour the poor. Okay, this man is pricing people out of being able to afford life. Okay, damn, a lifestyle. People can't afford life under this man. This man has a system that just devours you as a wild beast, man, as a raging lion or attacking bear. A ferocious predator-like animal. That's how this man rules the earth. And especially if you're poor, you're just devoured by his rulership. You just torn to pieces if you don't have, a bunch of disposable income. And see, it's just going from, those that was already in poverty, and now the system is bringing middle class to poverty. It's working its way to the upper middle class. Okay, pretty much, unless you're billionaire status. Okay, this man's system is built to drain you, man. Okay, so let's go from there. I want to play this video. I say that Jake, he's gonna get into it. All right. So let's play it. Cause this is not what's being reported. You're getting those, constant stories of the nigga woman. All right, crashing out. Well, there's other things that's happening. A lot of other people being affected as well. Okay, so let's play this.
You won't believe what just vanished while Wall Street hit record highs this week. The government shutdown just entered day 24, tied for the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. Yesterday, 750,000 federal workers got paychecks, $0, not reduced paychecks, zero. 800 million in federal contracts stopped flowing every single day. And here's the part that should terrify you: the September jobs report. It doesn't exist. If you ever believe government shutdowns are just political theater that don't affect you, this video is your wake-up call, because here's what the media isn't connecting. The Federal Reserve is making trillion-dollar interest rate decisions next week, completely blind, no jobs data, no economic clarity, flying blind, and 7.7 million Americans hang in the balance. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how this shutdown can trigger a recession, why your job might be next even if you don't work for the government, and what this economic data blackout actually means for your financial future. But more importantly, you'll see the economic crash happening in real time that nobody's reporting clearly. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, I need to be honest with you. I've watched too many people dismiss government shutdowns as just politics. Smart people who think this doesn't affect real life. People who believe federal workers just take a temporary break, then everything else goes back to normal. And what makes me angry? The disconnect. Wall Street celebrating record highs while 750,000 families just missed their mortgage payments. Media covering the political fight while completely missing the economic catastrophe building underneath. Neither tells you the truth. So when I saw that we're on day 24 with no end in sight, even when I discovered the September jobs report was never released, when I realized the Fed is making critical decisions without the data they call the gold standard, I had to break this down. Not because I'm pushing a political agenda, I'm not, but because someone needs to connect the economic dots that the media is ignoring while everyone else focuses on which politician is winning. I've spent the last week analyzing reports from the Congressional Budget Office, Federal Reserve statements, and economic analysis from Reuters and Brookings institutions. Here's the number the media mentioned once, then forgot about it. 800 million. That's how much money in federal contracts stopped flowing every single day since October the 1st. Do the math with me. 800 million times 24 days equals 19.2 billion in frozen contracts. That's not delayed, that's stopped. Businesses waiting for payment that isn't coming. Contractors laying off workers to survive cash flow crisis. Let me break down what's actually happening right now. 750,000 federal workers furloughed. They got paychecks with $0 yesterday, October the 24th. Not reduced, zero. 730,000 essential federal workers working right now without any pay, required to show up, not allowed to receive paychecks. 5.2 million contractor employees affected, not federal workers, private sector employees. Their employees depend on federal contracts that just stopped. That's 7.7 million directly affected, more than the entire population of Virginia. 30 billion per week in economic losses. 0.1 to 0.2% of GDP growth per week. The shutdown continues. If this continues through the end of the year, 2% GDP reduction. Economists define this as recession territory. Here's the part that should terrify anyone paying attention. The September jobs report was scheduled for release October the 3rd, never published. The Fed meeting is October the 28th and the 29th. Fed Chair Jerome Powell called government data the gold standard for making rate decisions. They are making trillion-dollar decisions about interest rates without seeing critical employment data. Interest rates that affect your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card, your job. Powell admitted this will become more challenging if the shutdown continues. Now let me show you what's really happening that the media completely buried. September employment report, never released. Scheduled October the 3rd. Canceled. Weekly job claims, halted. No updates since shutdown began. October inflation report, the New York Times says it will likely be suspended if the shutdown continues. That's the inflation data the Fed uses to make rate decisions. Carlyle Group has proprietary data. Their internal tracking showed only 17,000 jobs added in September. You need 100,000 to 150,000 jobs just to keep unemployment stable. 17,000 is nowhere close. ADP private payroll data, negative 32,000 jobs in September, the worst since March 2023. So the official government data doesn't exist. The alternative data we have shows the job market was already weakening before anyone knew about it. And the Fed making rate decisions next week without this critical information? Here's the truth the media won't say clearly because it sounds too dramatic. This isn't just a government shutdown. This is an economic data blackout at the worst possible time. The Fed is about to make decisions that will affect every mortgage in America, every loan, every job, and they're doing it blind. Wall Street doesn't care because the stock market runs on cheap money and corporate profits, not worker paychecks. But you should care because when the Fed makes mistakes flying blind, regular people pay the price. Let me show you exactly who's getting crushed right now and who's next. October the 24th, yesterday, 750,000 furlough workers received $0 paychecks. 730,000 essential workers still working, not getting paid. October the 31st, 1 week from now, military personnel could miss their first paycheck in U.S. history if the shutdown continues. These aren't lazy government bureaucrats. These are TSA agents screening airports, Border Patrol agents, FDA food inspectors, National Weather Service forecasters, working, not getting paid. Mortgage payments missed. Credit cards max, family emergency funds depleted, 5.2 million contract employees affected. These aren't government workers. These are private sector employees at companies with federal contracts. 800 million per day in contracts frozen means companies not getting paid for work already completed. Cash flow crisis forcing layoffs. Small businesses closing permanently because they can't survive 30 days without payment. According to reporting, IT contractors for federal agencies not getting paid. Construction companies building federal facilities, work stopped. Workers laid off. Janitorial and security services, contracts suspended. Scientific research labs with government grants, funding frozen mid-project. November the 1st, 1 week from now. SNAP benefits for 42 million Americans could run out. The funding runs out, the system stops processing payments. 42 million people, 7 days. Small businesses waiting for SBA loans, frozen. Companies needing federal permits to operate or expand can't get approvals. Businesses relying on government contracts considering layoffs to survive cash flow crisis. Here's where it hits you even if you don't work for the government or know anyone who does. If this continues through the end of the year, economists project 2% reduction in GDP. 2% GDP reduction is recession territory. Recession means your company starts layoff rounds, your 401k takes a hit, your job security evaporates, your wage growth stops or reverses. Now let me explain the impossible position the Federal Reserve is in next week. The Fed meeting is October the 28th and 29th. 4 days from now. They need to decide, should they cut interest rates to help the slowing economy or keep them high to fight inflation? To make this decision, they need September employment data, doesn't exist. October preliminary data, doesn't exist. Weekly jobless claims, halted. October inflation data likely suspended. Fed Chair Powell's own words, government data is the gold standard for making these decisions. When the Fed cut rates, your mortgage rate might go down. Your savings account interest drops. Your job market might improve. Stock market usually goes up. When the Fed raises or holds rates, your mortgage stays expensive. Your savings earn more. Your job market might weaken further. Stock market might correct. The Fed is making this decision blind. If the Fed cuts rates and the economy is actually weaker than they think, they might cut too little, too late. If the Fed holds rates and a shutdown creates a recession, they'll have made the exact wrong call. Either way, they are guessing. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer works as a federal contracts manager.
Yeah, and this nigga not guessing, man. Okay, Esau knows the exact effects. Okay, of what he's getting ready to do. Okay, Esau knows the exact effects about everything that he's getting ready to do. You see, Esau, he's not in the blind. You know, he's this thing is intentional. It's strategic. Okay, so he knows when he makes this decision whether to raise or cut interest rates. All right, he's going to get, the results that he desires. And at the end of the day, he wants people impoverished because he has leverage when people are desperate. He wants people to be desperate. So these federal, contracts. All right, like I said earlier, so it's way bigger than the food stamps. Like I said, Eve just been, in the headlines for her reaction. All right, but they're just one factor. All right, I say these people, they have these federal contracts, these private sector businesses coming to a complete halt. Workers laid off, and remember, each industry exists to serve another industry. Okay, so if certain industries disappear, well, the industry that they serve are going to disappear. This economy is all connected. It's one big spider web. Okay, and Esau, is dismantling it a section at a time. Okay, and these things, and even when the government opens backs up, okay, these things are not just gonna, he's not just gonna press play. No, it's gonna be devastation. People are still gonna be picking up the pieces. Whenever this government does open back up, if it open back up, hey, may it don't. May the government never open back up. All right, so let's go here to Proverbs 22. All right, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22. All right, in verse 2, it said, verse 7, Proverbs 22 and 7 said, just as the rich, rule the poor, so the borrower is servant to the lender. Okay, the borrower is servant to the lender. Okay, and so the devil understands that if he keeps you poor, it's easy to rule over you because you're gonna be dependent. So his whole thing is to keep people poor, okay, or in debt, okay, to keep you in a position of servitude. You see, in the New World Order, he wants the masses to be, completely dependent on him. Okay, people are dependent on him now. Okay, but in this New World Order, he wants people dependent on him on a whole nother scale, on a whole nother level. Okay, so you go to Proverbs 22 and 16. It says, a person who gets ahead by oppressing the poor or by showering gifts on the rich will end in poverty, man. See, this devil, he's finna lose everything. You see, as he's planning and scheming and got all this bullshit going on, he's finna lose everything, man. Even himself, he's not even gonna own himself. Okay, he's gonna be the property of the nation of Israel, the true Israel in the kingdom. Okay, and he's going into a hardcore, rigorous, okay, skull crushing captivity, man. Okay, but that's all this man does is oppress the poor and shower, all right, the people that's already rich with gifts. Okay, because as people, all right, are being devastated by, the shutdown, this man is getting more wealthy, man. This man is still doing wealth grabs. Okay, the super rich are not affected, okay, by the policies of government. Only the poor. The super rich are favored by government policies, man. These crazy tax breaks, okay, lax government regulations, so they can make more profit. Okay. So it says, let me get this in the KJV, real quick, read verse. All right, Proverbs 22 and what is it? Yeah, 22. It says, "Rob not the poor because he is poor." Okay, and this is what this man does. He constantly exploits and extrapolates resources from the poor. Okay, and showers what the rich. Okay, so he exploits the massive poor population. I'll say so he can shower the few elite rich. Okay, it said neither oppress the afflicted in the gates. And the gate will represent, your law, your order. Okay, and within this man's law, this is an oppressive system, man. Okay, this is an oppressive system under this man. There's laws that just meant to keep you oppressed, keep you in poverty. Okay, keep you dependent. You see, so this is why the Lord is getting ready, to intervene. Okay, let's get this in the book of Samuel, chapter 2. All right, in verse 6, it says, First Samuel, chapter 2, verse, I started at 7. It says, "The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up." You see, these devils don't understand that the Lord has allowed them to enrich themselves for a moment. Okay, and these devils in their mind, they're going to extend this forever. Okay, it says, "He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill," which there's us, man. We're the poor, all right, just being lifted out of the dust, out of confusion. Okay, because this word is lifting us out of the dust, out of this confused state. Okay, and ultimately out of this lower state, when Yahushua returns, man, and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill, a place of dishonor. And the Lord is bringing us to a place of honor. Beginning with this wisdom, this understanding, all right, to set them among princes, okay, to put us in power and to make them inherit the throne of glory, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. Okay, so the Lord is getting ready, all right, to put Esau in silent and in darkness, man. Okay, because right now, he's in the spotlight. His his words, okay, run the earth. You see, but his power is going to be taken away, and he's all right finna be peasant status. Okay, because when you're peasant status, you don't exist. Okay, when you get to, your life, as a slave, it's like you don't exist in most arenas of the world. Okay, So this devil is finna be stripped from power, all right, and put in a very lowly, okay, position in the earth, man. Okay. Thus said the Lord, and by strength shall no man prevail. So, his witchcraft, his technology, his resources, his wealth, that's not going to aid him in trying to prevail against prophecy, man. All right, this nigga finna lose. So that's the point. Just wanted to bring that out, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. We give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutation, hopefully, shalom.